on, everybody? This is the Griffin Nation podcast. This is episode 3. Today we have special guest Bryan Dumphy-Culp. He's the director of housing and residence life. Bryan,
what's up, everybody? How you doing? Justin, Jordan, good to see you.
You too.
So today we're just gonna get right into it. How did you get your start becoming the director of housing and residence life?
Yeah, sure. So I've been the director of housing and residence life at Gwynedd since July 2015. I've actually been in the field of residence life and student affairs really since 1999-2000 when I went to grad school at Boston College up in Massachusetts, and at that point had decided I wanted to pursue a career in working with students. I would say I kind of stumbled upon working in residence life a little by accident. I didn't think I would be doing residence life when I was a student in college and then when I went to grad school, but it's very typical for people in grad school to have their first job in residence life, and it's really taken off from there. I've worked at a number of institutions. Before Gwynedd, I was at the College of New Jersey over in Ewing, New Jersey as an associate director, and when this job became open, I jumped at it for a number of different reasons. I've been wanting to be a director for a long time, and Gwynedd certainly fit what I was looking for in terms of the type of campus and the size and everything that I was looking for. So it's been quite a journey to get to be a director, but couldn't be more happy with being one.
So now that you're here, what is your role here? What is your role being the director of housing and residence life?
Sure. So I oversee all aspects of our residence life program. So we have over 530 beds on campus across 4 residence halls. For our undergraduate population, as we know, Gwynedd has a large graduate student population, but our residence halls and our residence life program is for our undergraduate students. So freshmen, sophomores, juniors and seniors, transfer students, et cetera. So anyone who's going through the undergraduate, any of our undergraduate programs. And so, I oversee everything. I have a great staff, including our student staff of RAs. And then for our professional staff, we have an administrative assistant, we have 2 residence directors, and an associate director. And we go through everything from, building community into the residence halls, really trying to build respect and civility, civil discourse, really trying to grow and develop our resident students. And we do that through a number of initiatives, whether it be programming, our guidelines, our policies. There's, as I like to tell my staff, there's always a method to the madness. And so there's always something behind, what we do. Our main thing is to support the academic mission of the institution, and we certainly do that, creating that academic environment in the residence hall. So we touch a lot of different points on campus. We're with the students 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I think we have a huge impact and influence on our residents and how they grow throughout the years if they stay on campus with us.
Just like to tell the audience that I'm a part of that team that he talked about, the residence life team.
You are. You are. I wasn't going to be biased or anything, but I'll let you do that. It's your podcast.
So I guess, what kind of things do you and the Res Life team do to ensure that students enjoy their stay in the housing?
So I think we do a lot of things. So I think first and foremost, we try to involve the students in what will be a great experience for them. We aim to be very student-centered, and what that means is that everything we do it's done through a student lens. Now, that doesn't mean everything we do students will necessarily like or enjoy, but when we're developing new policies or we're coming up with programs or new initiatives, we're trying to involve the students in that decision-making process. Jordan will tell you that when we're talking about things, I will go to the RAs a lot with, here's what we're doing, here's what we're thinking about. We have the Residence Hall Association, which is made up of students. It's sort of like the governing body for the residence halls. And they are like a liaison between the residents and the residence life department. I actually advise that group. So we'll talk to them about things that we are doing. Everything we do, from programs to everything, is to try and give students a great residential experience. And their residential experience is in the residence halls and outside the residence halls. It doesn't stop with once they come into the building. So we're trying to show the residents that there's a lot to do on campus, how to get involved to make their experience more well-rounded with everything. We just don't, once they come onto campus and they come into the residence halls, we're not just leaving them be. With all the training that we have for the RAs and what we direct and ask them to do with the residents, from the programs and so forth, what our mission is, with everything. So we're trying to, again, deliver this great residential experience, which for me is in and outside the residence halls. The residential experience is not just living in these buildings or living with a roommate.
One of the initial reactions that I had coming into Gwynedd as a resident, I remember being a freshman, obviously a freshman, and I came in and at night, I think, was it Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor was fighting, and I remember Brian ordering the pay-per-view for all the freshmen because it was like a buzz throughout the entire campus about
I remember that specifically. We had like 75 people in the glass lounge. And so
before COVID, of course.
Before COVID. Yeah. A lot of things before COVID. And, that was part of the orientation program, and it happened in a couple different ways. That day, it was on a Saturday. I remember it very vividly. So I think orientation, they went to like Six Flags or Dorney Park or something like that. They always have an event off campus. And actually that night we were doing pizza. So everyone coming back to the halls, we were like, let's just do this big social, make it really relaxed on the Saturday night. We bought tons of pizzas. I feel like 40 pizzas.
Right.
And we ordered an ice cream truck. I don't know if you remember that, the Mr. Softy ice cream
Of course
truck.
I remember.
Yeah. Because I've always wanted to bring an ice cream truck. It's just been like one of my things. And they're like, go ahead. Once they said, Res Life, what do you want to do? I was like, I'm getting pizza in the ice cream truck. And I believe, I think we had talked out loud about maybe buying the fight, or maybe just right there, someone's like, should we get the fight? Like, it was a buzz. I was like, sure, and so hooked up my Amazon account, did it through there, right in the glass lounge using our HDTV. And it was great. I was there till like 1:30 in the morning. And then we had to be back at work at like 10 for the upper class students to move in.
Right.
And, in a way that's student centered. Students ask for something and we're able to deliver. And that's what I was saying before, like we're, and Justin used to live on campus too. We can't just say, whatever a student wants, they're going to get, we can't really operate that way.
Yeah, balance.
But if you have some of those meaningful conversations in different ways, in those learning conversations and developmental conversations, a lot of things really, really come out of it. So, I know today, all three of us were on that run through for the open house that's happening on November 14th. And, I have remarks prepared just in case and so forth. And, we're about, this might come up at the end of the podcast, but, we're more than just a bed. You can get a bed anywhere and put your head down at night. We're about challenging student success, making them whole. One thing that I learned, like when I was at Boston College, another Catholic institution, is, cura personalis, care for the individual. We're here to develop you. And the students probably don't know we're doing it as it happens. I'm gonna say, Jordan and Justin, if you look back when you were a freshman and where you are now, you definitely have changed as a person, right? I'm sure you both understand. And you probably both went on different journeys to get there. I know you're both involved. You've lived on campus, you've lived off campus, involved with basketball, involved with other things, other leadership opportunities. And so whether you decide to take control of that or not, I know for a fact along the way, some portion of that happened when you were in the residence halls. You learned a lot. You learned a lot of things about yourself, whether by accident or on purpose. That happened. And there's that element, and if you think back to any conversations either of us have had or you've had with our staff about decisions or things you want to do and how you've grown, that is part of what we do. So it's very organic, even though behind the scenes we are. I kind of talk a little bit like puppets. Like we are doing things behind the scenes to make that happen, but you don't know it as it's happening. So I would say the students usually kind of figure it out much, much later. And our data shows that too. We ask every year when we get feedback from the residents. So you talked about, giving a great residential experience. Right. Every fall, we do a survey. I call it the quality of life survey. And we ask students basically how things are going in so many words. And, consistently we get from residents, A, high satisfaction of living in the residence halls, but B, what is it about the residence halls that you like? Community, making friends, love living here, love being close to everything. Our students want to live on campus because they're so close to everything and they get involved, which is also one of my big pieces of advice. You have to get involved, when you're on campus, because that will give you, like I said, a well-rounded experience. I think it makes you a better student as well. It'll challenge you in your academics. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, in what ways has the Res Halls improved over the years? What kind of updates or additions have you guys made?
Yeah, we've done a lot. So, when I came in 2015, residence life was at a different point in terms of what it meant to live on campus and live in the residence halls. And, one of the first things that I did was take a really big picture look at the physical environment of our residence halls and where we were as a department or as a program, like, what kind of residential program were we delivering? And as I said before, one of the first things about when you live on campus and live in the residence halls is community, right? So every floor has its own community. Every building is its own community. I would say even a suite, we have traditional doubles and then our 4-person suites. Those are community, right? When you have your friends over, in your room watching the game or something like that, that's like a little community. But what I noticed is that while, yes, there probably were little pockets of communities, there really wasn't a lot necessarily to bring people out of their room. So we really went under this comprehensive plan, strategic plan, essentially, to bring students more out of their rooms. And a lot of that was first the physical makeup of the residence hall. So we've done tons of improvements with upgrading furniture in lounges, adding TVs in lounges as well to bring people out of their rooms, adding more modern and desirable furniture. So when we talked about the replacement furniture, doing that, started to replace carpet in hallways, getting on a schedule for, repainting hallways and things like that. And I remember my first year, I went to the Loyola One West Lounge and I was just surveying things, and there were some residents in there and they said, "Brian, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just looking to see how many pieces of furniture you have in here and kind of measuring because you need some new furniture." Like, "Oh yeah, we do."
I remember you asking me.
Yeah, and so I do think a lot of times we're bringing things more to students than they're bringing to us, but we're on the same page. So like we're thinking this, and we're and they are as well. I use this example a lot, and I won't get on my soapbox for this, but when I first started, we still had lounges. So this is 2015, so just 5 years ago. We still had lounges with those old school like tube TVs in them. There weren't flat screens, and some TVs had a built-in VCR. Now, I don't even know if either one of you has ever used a VCR, so I am showing my age. I'm 43, and you guys are not. So you're like half my age, if not less. But I was like, what, this is not inviting. This is not being modern. This isn't today's student. And again, that was 5 years ago. And then since then, and so we've tried to be systematic with what we've done each year. So, study tables or tables that have that allow for a lot of people to sit there. So like group study, 6 to 8 people, but as well as, look at all the technology that students are using now, their phones, laptops, iPads, tablets. So we bought tables and also installed to make sure there's electrical components there. So you can charge your iPhone, you can be on your laptop, etc. We also were intentional with how we set up the lounges. So I see the lounges as like a living room, right? The focal point of a living room to me is usually the TV. Everyone sits around the TV, right? So most of the lounges, so it's kind of like, let's set up the TV first and kind of build around that. It's like in hockey, you build up, you have to start with the goalie to build your team, and you work your way up to the center, to the center line. So so we kind of designed the lounges in a specific way. Every single lounge, the way it's set up and where the furniture is and so forth, has been purposeful, right? So again, that's kind of that's that, behind the scenes, what we are doing. Because you can just buy furniture, just throw it in there.
Right.
But but it's designed in a way to bring people together. So, people can be watching TV, and then behind them, people can be studying, maybe also watching TV or interacting with each other. Right. So that's what we've been doing there. And then at the same time, just our residential program and our approach to programming, approach to training the RAs, our approach to working with students on things, with everything, just how we do that has changed, and to build better relationships with the students and build a program where people want to live on campus. And that certainly is what our data shows. People want to live with us.
Now, you mentioned change, and change has been one of the biggest themes this semester for multiple reasons. But I think the biggest reason is because we're in a pandemic.
Yep.
So, what are some ways you adapted the residence life adapted to COVID guidelines during this time in the residence
Yeah.
hall?
We had to adapt quite a lot. So, back in March of 2020 is when it really started, when Gwynedd first initially closed for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks right after spring break. And then it really extended as COVID broke out across the state of Pennsylvania and then country and then, of course, the world. So a lot of our planning really just started back in March before we knew it. So what we've done for this semester and also for next semester, the first thing we did is we had to look at what our housing setup was going to be. And we decided that in the best interest and safety of everyone, that yes, we would have the residence halls open, but we would only have one student per room. Where normally, all our rooms are double-sized rooms, 2 sets of furniture for everybody, a set of furniture for everybody. So basically everyone you normally would have a roommate. So we really cut our residency in half, if not less. We were prepared to have students live at a hotel because we put a cap on how many students could live on campus. We ended up not having to do that because as the summer progressed and students learned if they had remote classes or in person, they may have made different decisions about living on campus and athletics and other reasons. So that makes sense. So that was the first big decision we made. We're only gonna have one person per room. And that also led to other, kind of a domino effect. It meant less RAs. We usually have an RA every floor. Well, we kind of have an RA basically for every 2 floors, essentially.
I have 2 floors.
Yeah, you have 2 floors, so, in Siena, we have 2 floors. Usually there's one on each floor, but it's really 1 RA for the 2 floors. So that's been a huge change and a huge challenge. I know, Jordan, you can speak to that, but that's been a huge challenge for us in trying to do that. The other, we made some policy changes, not having guests and so forth, and that's all from safety, how many people can be in a room. But yet, so then the safety guidelines within the residence hall. So we wanted to make sure though, like how do we keep things as normal as possible, even though we're not in these normal times. So we specifically made sure, yes, we're gonna keep our lounges open, but we are gonna have to limit how many people can be in a lounge. We have signs everywhere that depending on the lounge and how big it is, listen, this is how many people can be in here at once. And we put markings at tables and chairs about, listen, only 2 people at this table, 1 person at this table. And we have signs in every single common area for that. Same with bathrooms. There's the hand sanitizing stations as you come into the buildings. Not just in the res halls, but on campus, when you come into campus, getting a temperature check and taking a survey, temperature checks when you come into the residence halls, wearing masks in public. So basically anytime you're outside of your bedroom, you have to have your mask on. We do allow students to have other people in the room, other residents though. So you can't, no guests are in the residence halls, which means anyone who isn't a resident. So, Jordan, Justin lives off campus. He can't come to Jordan's room because Justin's currently a commuter. And that's tough, because, it certainly dwindles the socialization and people to be able to engage with each other, which certainly is also our biggest challenge right now. Students being able to engage. So students can visit each other. It's just the current residents. We first kind of left it open. We had to change some things after the beginning, after just saw some patterns. And so we had to put some limits on there. But for the most part, things are going well. It's just tough. It's a little quiet.
Unique, definitely unique.
Yeah, unique. So I don't like to say we're making the best of it, but we are doing our best. I think everybody is. I will say we are in the middle of trying to figure out who's coming back to housing for the spring. And, anecdotally, about 80% of our students say they're coming back to live on campus no matter what. So, that says a couple different things. I think that shows the strength of our program, that's despite everything. And that also students want to be here and they want to live on campus. They want that experience. And so, we're, as you know, Jordan, we've tried to be super creative with what we do. And one thing we talked about in the beginning of the summer when we started making some plans was, COVID's going to force us to think creatively and differently, and maybe not necessarily in a bad way. There are some things that whatever we set up for this semester, next semester, maybe that's what we do for semesters in the future, so certainly a lot of lessons learned, from everything and how you need to be prepared for almost anything and really think on the fly, really change on the fly. We didn't really have tons of time to figure things out.
Now, that's definitely a unique experience. We're going through a unique experience right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what other unique stories do you have so far just in your career of working this job as being a director of residence life?
Oh, well, there's always a lot of unique stories, dealing with students and parents in different variations. Doing this for 20 years at different schools and different variations of things. I mean, I've worked at schools where, on the weekends, there are crowds in residential areas because that's the socialization, and, it's up to 2 or 3 a.m. and clearing people out as they go back to their residence hall rooms and things like that. I've been involved in police investigations for certain things. I've had lively discussions with students and parents or families about things as well. Along the way, though, really everything has always been a great experience. I'm always someone who talks about you learn from your experiences, you learn from your mistakes. And certainly for me, over the years, we talk all the time in residence life or student affairs that we probably could write a book about what happens with everything. So, I'm sure, Jordan, Justin, you could think of times that each of us have interacted on things, or you've interacted with other people and those kind of stories.
Look at Justin.
Listen, let's be real here. Justin and I had to meet and talk to each other a couple of times freshman year. But I would also say, I think Justin would agree, it really helped us develop a good relationship. So while we may have had to meet for different things, it did allow us to build a good relationship and have some fun with it, right? I mean, I remember, what was it, last year, Justin, or 2 years ago, I was in the Loyola parking lot, and Justin's like, Justin was in the Mr. Griffin contest, and we made a bet that if he made top 3, that I would take him to lunch. I still don't think he got top 3. I haven't ever really seen the results.
For the record,
I haven't seen the results.
For the record, I came in 3rd, and I never got my lunch.
You never got a meal.
Well, Justin's not the best with communicating or reading and responding to emails, so that's been the same since freshman year. But yeah, so but it's that kind of the residence halls and those type of interactions, and as you say, unique. So that is kind of unique, but that's a fun unique that we're able to have that rapport, kind of that mutual respect for things, and just build that really good relationship to be able to do that and kind of have that fun, in a good way. So, I certainly appreciate that. I like that it's organic too. It's not forced, because I enjoy having the conversations with students, whether on purpose or by accident, and finding out what's going on and challenging them, for them to kind of think about what they do or things like that. So, it's really developed into just a great experience overall. So I have a lot of unique stories. I don't know whether it's for this podcast or maybe another podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of good stories out there that make us laugh, scratch your head, and kind of what happened, for everything. But at the end of the day, it ends up really being certainly very, very beneficial for us and the student.
Definitely. So just to wrap up, what's one thing you want students to take away after living in the res halls?
One thing that I want them to take away that they've changed, that they've changed for the better. So just like I said in the beginning about how if both of you look back at when you were first year students and now seniors, or even if you were a junior, how much you've changed and grown as a person. Maybe you've reset your value system. You've looked at your ethics and morals. You've challenged yourself, or you've been challenged. Challenges can be uncomfortable. Learning is uncomfortable. That's the other thing. And, we do things on purpose, and we will challenge the students on purpose, and you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's going to make you a better person. So for me, if you're living on campus with us, that your experience has changed you for the better as a person as you leave college. And because at Gwynedd, we're sending you out into the world. We want you to represent Gwynedd well. We want you to take what you've learned with us at a Mercy institution and apply our core values, apply our mission. And that's what we're looking to do in residence life as well.
Well, Brian, I would just like to thank you for joining us today. This is episode 3. You don't have to do this. You took out the time out of your day to come and join us and have this interview. So I would like to just thank you formally for coming and being a guest on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to know why I was episode 3. I wasn't episode 1. Come on. This is BDC we're talking about here. Like,
Right.
I thought we knew each other. Apparently not. I guess,
It's a lot of confusion going on, just like the Patriots record.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Does Delaware have a team? I don't think so. Like, who do you root for all the front runners? Let's not, do we want to go into this?
Oh, come on. All right.
I don't have many Laker fans in Delaware.
Oh, okay.
Don't you have the 86ers, the 76ers, like?
You're talking about the Blue Coats. Oh yeah,
the Blue Coats. Yeah, they're doing well.
Nah, I mean we can talk all day, but like you said earlier, that may be for you. That may be for a different podcast.
It might be for your podcast. I'll come on there anytime.
But yes.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Always willing to help out the students and do what I can.
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. I really appreciate you.
All right, Justin.
Make sure everybody follows us on Instagram. Make sure everybody follows us on Instagram at Griffin Nation _. We'll be posting just little details all week about the next episode and clips from this episode. So make sure you follow that on Instagram right now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is episode 3. Signing out.
All right.